You step outside your mud brick house and immediately regret it. The sun is a relentless beast, scorching everything in its path. It's like waking up to an oven preheating for baking day, only without the delicious smells. Your village is a cluster of simple mud brick homes arranged haphazardly along the Nile. No skyscrapers here, just dirt roads and thatched roofs that seem to blend into the endless sky like an old faded painting. It's like Uber, but with horses and plague. And if you need a ride, good luck getting one without offering your firstborn as payment. But here's the thing. That delicious scent, ISNT, just for show. You don't get to eat unless you've worked hard enough all day in the fields or at your trade. You're about to enjoy a momentary break from reality when suddenly, the overseer's whip cracks nearby. And that's all before breakfast. But probably not for him. While you're sweating and struggling just to breathe, he has got it made. It's a stark reminder that this ISNT, some equal opportunity paradise, it's survival of the fittest. You'd think life would be simpler in ancient Egypt. Actually, it was more like trying to navigate a maze blindfolded. Everything changed when you hear the distant roar of something large and powerful coming towards you. It's not just the Nile, it's a way of life rushing at you like a wave. But here's what nobody expected. As night falls, the real challenges begin. And that's when you realize the day was just the warm-up act. Scene, you stand outside your mud brick home in the morning sun, scratching at an itchy spot on your arm where a bug bit you during the night. But here's the thing. After breakfast, as you step into the bustling streets of ancient Egypt, something feels off. Everyone around you is sweating profusely, but they don't seem to mind the heat like you do. Scene, you're in a crowded marketplace surrounded by vendors selling everything from spices to pottery. You start to feel like an outsider. And it's not just because your hair looks like tumbleweed. It turns out that the Egyptians had a whole different way of dealing with heat way before air conditioning was even a thought bubble over someone's head. Scene, a vendor offers you a jug of water, but then starts talking about how to cool off. Without using water, you'd think it was all about splashing around in pools or something. Maybe they had some kind of ancient mist fan system? Actually, it was none of the above. They mastered the art of sweating and staying dry at the same time. Scene, a man nearby is completely drenched but doesn't have a drop of sweat on his face, and just when you thought it couldn't get worse. You learn that Egyptians had a peculiar solution for body odor. It wasn't tea deodorant or perfume, no. They went with something far more surprising. Scene, a woman walks past, her skin covered in what looks like mud, but is actually a mixture of water and herbs. You'd think they used flowers or something sweet-smelling to mask the stench. Maybe they had some kind of ancient incense that worked wonders. Actually, it was all about covering up with clay-based concoctions. Scene, a group of children playing in the mud around an irrigation ditch, giggling as they splash each other. Everything changed when you realized what these mixtures were for. You were so focused on sweating and staying cool that you missed the bigger picture. It turns out this was just one part of their daily ritual to keep their skin protected from the sun and bugs. Scene, a woman applying a thick paste to her face and arms. Her movements smooth and practiced, but here's what nobody expected. As you start to understand these customs, your own modern solutions seem inadequate in comparison. You thought carrying around a bottle of cologne would do the trick. Maybe a stick of deodorant would work just fine? Actually, these ancient methods were far more effective, and you're about to find out why. Scene, a group of workers laughing and joking as they apply their mixtures before heading off to work. It's like trying to use a laptop in the Sahara. Without any air conditioning, it's not impossible, but it sure is harder than you thought. And that's all before lunchtime. Scene, you watch as everyone around you seems to effortlessly navigate through daily life, leaving you feeling more and more out of place. So here's your next challenge. Figure out how to blend in with the locals without looking like a sweaty outsider. But probably not. Because every time you think you're getting used to ancient Egypt, something else throws you for another loop. Scene: you stand back at your hut as night falls, scratching again and wondering what tomorrow might bring. You're probably thinking this is bad enough already. But here's the thing. It gets even worse when you wake up in the morning to find your bread rationed with a tiny spoon. It's like the Flintstones version of breakfast. One measly bowl of gruel that looks suspiciously like yesterday's mud. But here's what nobody expected. Your daily bread ration is less than you'd feed a pet hamster. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, you notice the water jug beside you. It's not filled with clean H2O, but rather cloudy liquid that looks like someone vomited in last week's rainwater. You'd think this would be it: no food, no fresh water. But probably not. And here's where everything changes when you hear the distant wailing of the town crier. Or what passes for him. You'd think he's just another paranoid old man, but it turns out there's more to this than meets the eye. The plague isn't just rumors. It's a very real threat hanging over your head like a scythe-wielding reaper. But wait, there's one last twist for you before bed tonight. As night settles in and the crickets start their nightly symphony, you find yourself sharing the mattress with an unwelcome guest. And no, it's not just fleas anymore. It's a scurrying shadow that makes your heart race like a jackrabbit on caffeine. You'd think you'd be used to bugs by now, but no such luck. And just as you're about to give up hope for sleep, you hear a distant howl that makes your blood run cold. But probably not in the way you think. What could it be? An Egyptian horror story come to life? You'll find out soon enough. You freeze as the hooded figure approaches, carrying what looks like a woven basket filled with. But here's the thing. Ancient Egyptians didn't just use herbs for cooking or medicine, they also used them to ward off spirits and curses. You try to speak, but only manage a croaky whisper as you ask why he's here. He looks at you sternly and says, "The gods demand you cleanse yourself before sunset," and just when you thought it couldn't get worse. You're about to protest when he explains that you must participate in the famous Egyptian weighing of the heart ceremony to ensure your soul's salvation. You think it was just a test of your moral character. Maybe it's like a medieval lie detector test. Actually, it's much worse than both. But here's what nobody expected. Before you can even attempt the ceremony, another neighbor barges in with news that could turn everything around or completely destroy any chance you have left. But just as you're about to decide how you might possibly survive these challenges, the camera focuses on a small, sealed clay pot in the corner of the room. But just as you're about to decide how you might possibly survive these challenges, the camera focus slowly blurs and the light dims. Scene: the once bright sun of ancient Egypt fades into twilight, casting long shadows across the desert sands. The day comes to an end in a haze of dust and heat, leaving behind only the quiet murmur of life in the shadows. You're left with the realization that your survival today was a triumph over incredible odds. Scene: an old scribe sits by his torch-lit desk, quill resting on papyrus, as if time itself paused, yet amidst all this hardship, there's a peculiar calm. The bustling market stalls have closed for the evening, replaced by a serene silence that seems to whisper secrets of another era. It's like stepping into a museum. After hours, everything is still and preserved in time. Scene: smoke from distant kitchens drifts across starry skies. Above mud brick homes, the streets are empty save for the occasional flicker of candlelight peeking through cracks in wooden shutters. You hear the soft lapping of the Nile against its banks, a constant companion through your day and night. It's as if nature itself is whispering ancient stories in your ear. Scene: the faint sound of water trickling from clay jugs being carried back to homes, and then you notice something unexpected: a small group of children playing quietly by the riverbank. Their laughter, though soft, cuts through the stillness like a knife, reminding you that life goes on even when it's hard. They're dressed in simple linen tunics and leather sandals, their faces painted with lines of childhood innocence despite the world around them. Scene: children laughing as they splash water onto each other by the Nile. It's in these moments of quiet reflection that a hidden connection reveals itself. The challenges you face today weren't just about survival, they were about resilience. You endured without modern comforts, but you also thrived within the limits of your world. Seen, a solitary figure stands at sunset, gazing out over endless sands, yet there's an even deeper truth lurking beneath this surface. Not only did people like these ancient Egyptians adapt to their harsh environment, but they shaped it into something beautiful and enduring. They built temples that still stand today, wrote stories we can read thousands of years later, and crafted a civilization that left its mark on history forever. Seen, a distant temple glowing golden against the darkening sky, and perhaps that's what you've truly discovered. Not just how they lived, but why it mattered. Their daily struggles were part of something larger than themselves, a legacy that endures long after their lives ended. It's a reminder that our own actions, no matter how small or insignificant they may seem now, will echo through time as well. Seen, a single star winks to life in the darkening sky, so here's your final thought before you drift off into sleep. What are you building for tomorrow? Because every moment of your day is a chance to leave an indelible mark on the future, just like those ancient Egyptians did. And that's something nobody can take away from you. Seen, the starry sky fills with more stars as night deepens.